Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Love Your Dogs podcast. My name is Bree Drake. I am a holistic dog health educator and a certified holistic pet health coach. This podcast is heart led, real life, experience based, and not dry science. And on the note of dry science, I will warn you that not next week's episode, but the following week will include quite a bit of science, and it'll be in a way that you really want to listen. It's not going to be dry and miserable. You are going to be captivated by this episode coming up. I cannot wait. And thank you again for coming back. If you follow me on Instagram, there was a slight worry that I wouldn't be recording this week. It's going to be later. Hopefully I can get this posted tonight. Normally I am making the podcast live and available on Wednesdays. This week I was a guest on another podcast, which went really well. And Pine had his first blood draw for heartworm test yesterday. Affordable Pet Labs. They are something worth looking into. They are now in my area, which was incredible. So I paid for the test that I wanted, which was a heartworm and tick-borne illness test. And they sent me a questionnaire. I filled it out. There's no history, no vaccine record requirements, none of that. I filled out the quick questionnaire, scheduled the appointment. They came and they drew Pine's blood very professionally on our porch. They left and they will send that sample off so that we can find out if our guy is heartworm positive or negative. I know he'll be negative, hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, it's important. Springtime, I always recommend that, and most veterinarians, holistic and conventional, will recommend that you heartworm test your dog at least once a year in the springtime, especially in areas where there are a lot of mosquitoes. So that is the plan Pine and I are on. We're going to heartworm test every single year in the spring. So, yeah, that brings us to today. And I'm actually finally, for the first time, utilizing this platform, this podcast, in the way that I originally intended, which was if I get the urge to have a rant or a discussion in my Instagram stories, I need to just go to my computer, get my microphone, and record a podcast. So that's what's happened today. I was pretty much decided that I was going to skip this week for recording. And then something came up and it just prompted a great idea. I wanted to talk about it. I went to do it on Instagram. I'm like, wait a minute, let's record this. So what gave me the fire to do this episode? And really, I get a lot of, um, not a lot of toxic reactions to what I share, and whether it be from the conventional vet community online or from dog parents who are just, I can't blame them for wanting to protect themselves and assume that there's nothing they are knowingly doing wrong to their dogs. I get it to some extent, but that being said, I also, even indirectly, don't like to give them any attention. But this comment is important because it is one that comes up frequently, and one that you may be wondering yourself if you're in similar shoes, and obviously wouldn't come at me in such an aggressive and immature way. But let me just go ahead and read the comment I received. So the comment says, my 14, almost 15-year-old Beagle mix has never had cancer except for a small mass on her ear that was removed, and nothing had to be done after that, and has been vaccinated her entire life along with being kibble fed. Please vaccinate your dogs and feed them whatever they do best on. What the F? So you can see this isn't even a comment that I should have replied to or should give any attention, just based on the interaction, but it's an important message. And I'll read quickly what I wrote back. I said, I'm genuinely happy for your dog that has made it to almost 15. That's a gift. It truly is. Some dogs have stronger genetic resilience and can tolerate more of the modern inputs that we throw at them. That doesn't mean those inputs are harmless. It means that your dog has been able to withstand them. But that doesn't explain the growing number of dogs, many raised with just as much care, who are getting sick and dying far too young. You can't dismiss those experiences just because yours turned out differently. Every dog is incredibly individual. Genetics, environment, stress, diet, exposures, it all matters. Some are more vulnerable, and we're seeing more of that vulnerability surface, not less. So it's not about whose dog is doing just fine. We have to be asking why so many aren't doing fine. So obviously I want to talk about this because it's one of the biggest misunderstandings in dog health. If your dog lived to the old age of 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, maybe older, that is a gift. It really is. But one dog doing okay doesn't tell us what's optimal. It just tells us what that dog was able to tolerate. There's a huge difference between surviving and thriving. There's a huge difference between something being tolerated and something being harmless. So, genetic resilience, which I touched on in my reply, is a huge part. Some dogs are just more resilient, stronger genetics, different detox pathways, different immune responses. They can handle more of the modern inputs that we're just constantly throwing at them. But we're also seeing more and more dogs that can't handle this stuff, our cancer prone breeds just they can't handle it. Again, the question isn't did your specific dog, your individual dog do fine? We have to be asking why so many dogs aren't doing fine in our modern world because so many dogs are dying younger and younger of chronic illness. When we look at the common inputs, we look at kibble, a highly processed, dead food, repeatedly heated, little to no moisture, biologically altered. And then we look at vaccines, a really powerful immune stimulant. They are not without risk, especially when overused. And then we look at over medication, monthly, yearly, stacked on top of each other and usually unnecessary in a lot of cases. And then there's environmental toxins, lawns, homes, air, water, furniture, beds, toys. These aren't neutral. They all place some level of burden on the body. And we'll touch on the lump that was removed in that comment. So sometimes our dogs' bodies do adapt. They find ways to cope. They compartmentalize to manage the burden, whether that shows up as lumps and bumps, as inflammation, as chronic low grade issues, or nothing even obvious at all. The adaptation doesn't mean optimal. And when we talk about lipomas, I'll briefly touch on them for a minute. That's the body compartmentalizing, taking the toxic load, the toxic overflow that it can't deal with, doesn't know where to put, and compartmentalizing it in a safe space in the skin to protect the rest of the vital, more essential organs in the dog's body. So that dog was clearly processing toxic burden. I hate to even get into ragging on this person in their comment because they don't know that. They don't know that's what's happening. And while she said it was removed, we were fine after that, that is still physical proof that that dog was overburdened. So again, just because a dog can handle something doesn't mean that they should have to. That is a heartbreaking mentality. We have so much information at our fingertips now. There's no excuse to not know about harms. If you follow me, there's no excuse to know about what could potentially be harming our dogs, from vaccines, from tap water to kibble, to antibiotics, chemicals in the household, in the furniture, the rugs, the beds, the bowls, the toys, what we're using on our lawns. There's no excuse to not know about these harms anymore because we literally have so much information, access to so much information at our fingertips. So when we know this and we say, it's because my dog is almost 15 and I haven't considered any of these things. I've always fed kibble. I've vaccinated every single year. Just because that dog survived, that's just an awful mentality to say this dog survived given all of those inputs. I'm not going to change anything. Why wouldn't we want to stack everything we can in our dog's favor? So please don't have this mentality. I know it's tough. I know for me, adopting this kind of care for dogs was kind of forced. It took me watching my dog's health decline and then dying with cancer to say, I've got to change everything. So it is really difficult when you're like, this is how I've always done things and my dogs have been fine. But fine is not healthy and not thriving. Those dogs are still suffering a burden, even if it's not glaringly obvious. And you certainly cannot gaslight the people who have lost dogs really young because of various toxic inputs in our modern world. So again, I don't want to make anyone feel guilty. It's really just trying to make you aware, because once you understand what these inputs do, you have the opportunity to make different choices moving forward. The goal is never perfection, although we do want that. I guess that is the goal, but it's tough. The goal is really to just stack odds in your dog's favor. Feed them the best food that you can, fewer unnecessary inputs, and give them a lifestyle that actually supports their biology, because every dog deserves more than just doing fine. Every dog deserves that. So that's all I wanted to say about that. And there was a little bit of drama, an event that happened this past week where a veterinary influencer decided to take a reel that I'd posted about how if we are if we're not outraged by the number of dogs that are getting cancer and dying younger and younger with cancer, that we're not paying attention. This veterinarian took that reel and said that the reason that dogs are getting cancer more is because they're better able to diagnose it. They have better diagnostic tools and capabilities, and that dogs are living long enough to get cancer now. And I know it sounds ridiculous to say that just because dogs are living longer and that's why they're getting cancer is a really shallow there's no depth to that thinking. There's no critical thinking there. It's just shifting blame. And the blame isn't entirely on conventional veterinary medicine. It plays a role. We talked about toxic inputs already in this episode, but it's never just one thing. It's never just one input. It's not just conventional care. There's so many other factors that are in our control. And then there's a lot of factors that are out of our control. So there's a combination of things happening between modern veterinary care, overcare, overreach, and then things in our environment that we need to clean up and try our best to avoid. And for the things that we can't control, we have to try our best to mitigate that. And we do that with fresh food and movement and supportive herbs. And so it's never just one thing, but it's certainly not that dogs are living longer and that's why they're getting cancer. And even if they were living longer than ever, the goal shouldn't still be for them to die with cancer. The goal should be to avoid cancer regardless at any age. And we want our dogs to just die happy and healthy and thriving with old age. Yeah, something is ultimately going to take them out, but it shouldn't be taking them out. And this is another point on that reel that this veterinarian shared of mine, there was 15 to 20 comments from dog parents with dogs as young as 2 years old, 3 years old, that they lost to cancer. And you know, my personal story, I lost our dog Skip at 8.5 years old. And that's not old age by any means. And if you think that's old age, we got a whole bigger problem. It's gaslighting dog parents. It's not addressing the real root of what's happening. It's not asking the hard questions. It's a really lazy stance and a mindset that I'm just shocked. Veterinarians that see the rise in cancer, they see it happening. I'm shocked that this is the reasoning. This is the mindset that they're taking. And another angle was that social media is making us so much more aware of all of the cancer cases. And even still, if that is true, the cancer cases still exist and we still don't want them. We still need to figure out why more dogs are getting cancer and why dogs are getting cancer younger and younger. And that ties back to the comment at the beginning where we have to do everything that we can to stack the odds in their favor. It's never going to be perfect. There's unfortunately so many things we can't control, and the best we can do is learn and try to set them up as best as we possibly can. I mean, there's really no better way to say it. We shouldn't default to it was bad luck or they're just living longer or we're just better at diagnosing it. And my thought on that too was so when dogs were dropping dead and there was no diagnosis, we didn't know what to call it, like that was okay. I just, none of it made sense. It's really, it was an embarrassment to the profession to see that, not only just the manner of how I was personally attacked in the reel and dog parents were gaslit. I mean, the information was just terrible. It was so terrible. It's such an embarrassment. So at the end of the day, I have to have compassion for this person. Oh gosh, that reminds me. So there's a term for this type of mindset, these type of people who get indoctrinated. Oh, this is what it is. I heard it on another podcast earlier today. Ideologically captured. I think that is a perfect way to describe it. They're stuck. They're stuck, and there's something in their brain that will switch one day, hopefully, or not at all. And this is one more thing I'll say about that. If conventional medicine truly worked, those veterinarians would not be at all threatened by what you and I believe and what you and I are doing. So that sums that up. Thank you guys. I'm glad I was able to get our podcast recorded and not miss a week. I appreciate you all so much. Oh my gosh, one more thing. One more thing. I always do this. One more thing. I am so proud of those of you who I interact with through my subscription on Instagram and Instagram messages, and those of you I work one on one with. It is not easy to make the switch to caring for our dogs holistically. It takes work, it takes patience, it takes getting through a period of overwhelm and anxiety. And I'm just so proud when all the work that I do to give you guys information and empower you finally comes together. I mean, I've had several of you in the past couple of weeks identify something on your own, use your intuition, use what you've learned, not panic, not rush into something, not rush to the vet, handle the matter on your own. And I just love when that happens because you see that you can do it, you get confidence, you feel empowered. And then when that happens, it gives me so much joy, and it lets me know that you're gonna be able to do this, and it's going to set you up for so much success in the future, not only with your dogs, but if you have kids, family, loved ones. Like, there's so many valuable tools to understanding holistic mindset to keeping everyone that you love healthy. And I'm so proud of you, and I'm so lucky to do what I do. I mean, I hate that I had to lose my sweet dogs to get myself here, but that's, the silver lining is I'm here making them proud. They taught me a lesson, and I have to wrap this up before I start crying. But thank you guys, and I will see you next week. Love your dogs.